here. Hey. Oh, I definitely should have had some freaking Christmas music on, but I don't know, this is how I roll. Hey. All right, let me come find you guys. Oh my God, I got a lot of shit to throw down today. Not gonna lie to you. Although that's usually when I come online. When there's like so much in there, it's overflowing. That would be today. Susan, if you're on here, yeah, it worked this time, but it's consistently been not working. So we'll see how it is. Hey, how are you? Okay, so of course, if you're, hey Gina, hold on, make sure you're completely horizontal, all set up before you click go live. I don't know if anyone else has been having trouble, but my iPhone, like I go live and then when I turn it horizontal so that my team can upload it on the back end for things, it's like glitching and freezing, so. Yeah, Susan, when I do that, it usually gives a warning saying like, you have to do it upright first, like you can't change it before or something like that. All right, we'll figure that out later. Okay, we're live. Where are my people? Say hello, give me hearts and loves. If you're new to me, please leave me a comment. Tell me where you're from, how you found me, so I can come learn more about you. I will stalk your stuff and learn about you, because that's how I roll. Okay, so here's the deal for today. Hold on, I can't find this live. I can only see your comments on my computer, so. Okay, here you are. I found y'all. Hi, Jane. Hey, Tina. All right. Okay. Let me just open it so I can see everybody's comments. Okay, so this is, I'm gonna, like, okay, y'all, I'm gonna bring it today because I'm done. I've been done for a while, right? Hey, Vanessa. All right, which way the comments come? Okay, I can see everybody now. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, so here's the thing that is coming up for me. Like, it's interesting after working with thousands of clients at this point and thousands of coaches and thousands of just people looking to, it's not just about stepping into, you know, a business and making money. I mean, that's the point of a business. Everybody knows this, right? Like, it's funny when people will like chirp around like, Mandy only talks about money. Like, well, that's the point of a business. The point of you and your life and your purpose is to heal people and to contribute and stuff. But the purpose of a business is to make money. That's the whole point. So yeah, we have to talk about the money. So, but that is not the, like, here's the deal, right? Basically what I'm finding as I'm going through here is there's a lot of people who are just straight fucking burning the truth. Like just lighting that shit on fire because they don't want to face it. They just want to tell themselves a lie, right? So it'll sound a lot like, I can't because it's my kid's fault. It's my husband's fault. It's too stressful. I'm going through a divorce. I got married. I moved. I'm trying everything and it's not working, blah, 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 right? It's just like this long list. And trust me, I've used every single one in there pretty much. Like basically I've tried all of it too, which is why I can now tell you that it's a load of bullshit because I've already been there and gone through all those phases, right? So, you know, setting the truth on fire because you don't want to tell yourself the truth is not a way to have the life that you want. Now, there's three kinds of people that I've noticed. I heard this somewhere. I have no idea who it is. If anybody knows who this is from, who said this, tag me or comment below so I can hear. There's three kinds of people, right? There's like the people who are just fucking making it happen. They're not burning the truth to death. They're facing it. They're looking at the truth. They're looking at the real shit. And everybody thinks that building a business is basically like strategy. Like I'm going to strategize and get myself, like if I just figure out how, and if I get enough momentum, that was a new one I heard the other day. I was like, yeah, I forgot about that one. Pretending that we have to have some kind of momentum going in order to be successful. So they're not playing those stupid games. They're not pretending they're not in a shitty relationship that makes them miserable. They're not pretending that they're showing up big and being consistent if they're not. They're not pretending that they're letting their deepest, like I'm saying my deepest truth and being myself when they're not because they're scared that people are gonna judge them. They're not doing that. They're just making shit happen, right? So that's like the first kind of person, which is definitely where we want to be. And I'm going to get into one of the biggest things today that I think are holding people back. in that, like as far as that arena right there, okay? So now we know like, okay, actually, if you want to become a wildly successful person who not only makes shit tons of money, but literally changes lives, literally heals the world, literally has like waiting lists of clients. Oh yeah, by the way, sorry, I forgot to mention, Up-Leveled on Command is open, mandyperry.com. I'm not sure if my team is on or not. She can drop it in. I'll drop it in just in case they're not. 10 days of nothing but how do you get an overflow of clients, period, end of story. Like what else do you need to know? Okay, so that's open right now. And actually the early bird special is still going on. I don't remember when it ends because I forgot to tell people, so I changed it. So probably like another 48 hours, then the early bird special will be gone. Okay, so they're telling themselves all these stories. The people who are actually showing up and just getting shit done, yes, momentum, LOL. When they're making things happen, they're facing the truth about things. And I know it can be scary and hard. Like it's hard to face the truth about like, how do you feel in your relationship? What's your dynamic with your family? And you know, how healthy is it? Like when my diamond girls came down to Maui for the retreat that I just ran, this was like 90% of what was coming up was like relationship dynamics. And I would know because I've been making some pretty big fucking bold moves in my life around this. So there's relationship dynamics. There's telling yourself the truth about how you feel about God and like what makes you a good person and what is your soul connection and what do you actually want in life. It's not just like pretending and playing small and telling yourself like small dumb shit, but actually being really honest about the things that you do want and like facing these things and being willing to be brave enough to go into them. You know, one of my girls just messaged me. She's like, you know, thanks for sending this. It was something I sent to my girls. And she's like, you know, ever since the event, you know, shit's been going down and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, obviously, because that's what growth feels like. Growth doesn't feel like the same as a fucking wake up today and do the exact same shit all day long. Growth feels like this is different. This is challenging. All this new shit is surfacing. I'm like, I'm having to learn how to be savvy and be decisive and learn how do I want to handle this and what words do I use in order to manage and handle that, and like trusting and knowing that what you do that's for you, that will expand you and excite you, is exactly the thing that everybody else around you needs every single time. It's when we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves bullshit that we end up enabling other people or sticking around in things that aren't supporting anybody on the planet. Right? So like growth feels like growth. New shit feels like new shit. It's not gonna feel comfy like the days when you woke up and just repeat Groundhog fucking Day. And you can do that if you want to. There's no right or wrong. I'm just saying, don't lie and pretend to yourself that you're doing that when you're not fucking doing that. Don't lie and pretend that you're actually growing and you're pushing yourself to a place where you've put your ass on the line and you're actually fucking going for it and you're all in and you're clear what you want. Like, don't do that. That's not what you're doing if that's not what you're doing. Trust me, if you're doing that, you fucking know you're doing that. Like, you're really clear and know when you're doing it, okay? So the first kind of person is the person that makes things happen. The second kind of person is the person where I feel like most people fall, is the person that watches things happen. They're watching while they're spinning all the bullshit in their head. They're telling themselves all these stories in their head about why they shouldn't have to do it now and why they can't risk something and why they can't be brave and why everything they're doing is good enough, and they're comparing themselves to everybody around them who doesn't feel the same calling as them. And so they're just watching. You're watching everybody get further and further ahead of you. The people who are actually like showing up and doing it, you're just watching the gap widen. It's just widening and widening and widening. That was one of the epic things that came up last week, was basically this idea of that, of expanding the gap. And it was really like, it knocked me on my ass for a second, because I was like, wow. Before it used to be like, who am I to like get ahead of people or to think that I'm called to greatness, or, you know, I'm leaving people behind, and you know, the Marine in me likes to rescue people. It's definitely a pattern of mine. I wanted to rescue everybody, and so like getting ahead of them seemed selfish or mean or rude or egotistical or something. And then to shift from that to the place where that's like my intention and what I'm calling my clients to is, of course, we're fucking creating the gap, because we have to be so far ahead of people that we can just literally scoop up mass amount, like hundreds of thousands of people, and call them to more. That is the goal, which means you have to be okay with that, right? So that's like some mischief there. Anyways, there's people who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and then there's the people, which I hope nobody here falls into, that have no fucking clue what's going on. They just have no idea what's going on. Like, this completely unaware of their own behavior, how it's contributing, the bullshit stories they're telling themselves, like that it's even possible for them to have a different kind of life. Maybe they're deep entrenched in dogma. Maybe they're just like super terrified that they're gonna get taken advantage of and never risk intimacy or connection, or just don't even, like, maybe they've just been through so much trauma they don't even dare to like daydream that there could possibly be anything better. I was her. I was that girl who like just fucking survive today. Like, don't worry about, like, there is no other better. Just survive today, and then just get used to it being like this and learn to contort yourself to be used to it being like this and find a way to just get through the days without it being that bad. That was how I lived my life for many, many years. So I know that's real shit. And I know that people are stuck there and they're struggling and that it's hard for them there. But I mean, obviously that's not my ideal client. Like, my client isn't someone who's has no clue what's going on. I can't help you. But if that's you, if that resonates on any level, which I know it's nobody here, you need to fucking get therapy, or you need to talk to someone, or you need to start, you know, just wake the fuck up and start looking at your life, right? And so, but just as badly, because it's almost like ignorance is bliss when you don't know any better. The most painful space to be is in the place where you're fucking watching everybody else. You're watching everybody else make tons of money and change lives, and people are always saying to them like, oh my God, you helped me so much. I needed to hear this today, blah, 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 blah. And they're, you know, they're getting thin and they're getting in shape and they're looking better and they're happier and they're more successful and they're more like overflow, and like just something seems like holy shit, how could I have a life? Like, no, we're not fucking watching that anymore. Like, you are not going to wake up and watch other people do that and sit there and spin a whole bunch of bullshit and burn the fucking lies and then keep telling yourself this made up story about why it's okay to stay in the fucked up relationship, or why it's okay for you to not be consistent today, why it's okay to not fucking sweat today, why like you're sitting in bed watching Netflix, or you're fucking, you know, like cleaning your house frantically instead of hiring cleaners and then doing your real work, or you're you know, causing drama and arguments and worrying about stupid shit that's like in the future that's never even gonna happen, or whatever the pattern is. Everybody has their shit. Human is human. We all do it, right? But whatever yours is, like, are you really gonna wake up and sit there and lie to your fucking self and give yourself permission to not show up day after day, especially coming into 2019? Like, is this really the way that you want to show up in 2019? Because I promise you, your brain and your neural system is wired for you to do today whatever you did yesterday and the day before. If you want this to change, you're going to have to fucking get intentional. You're going to have some balls, and you're going to have to be consistent, and you're going to have to call yourself to more, or you need to get yourself in a room perfectly, ideally. This is how I do it, and I don't even know how other people could do it any other way, honestly. You need to get yourself surrounded and in a room with people who are doing life the same, and somebody who's going to tell you the fucking truth. Like, yeah, that's a load of bullshit. You need to stop. Like, that's not what it is. So like me and the Diamond Girls, we have this something called the no-fly zone. So the no-fly zone is a space where I'm not even going to fucking listen to you unless you're telling me the truth. And I know when you're telling me the truth, just like you know when you're telling yourself the truth. And you know when you're spinning a bunch of bullshit. You know it. So the no-fly zone is like, literally, I'm not even going to respond. I'm just going to smirk at you when you spin a bunch of bullshit to me. And then I'm going to give you a chance, or 17 chances. I don't fucking care how long it takes, but I'm not doing anything until you correct your shit and stop lying to yourself. Like, well, I don't know. And maybe it's just a little, like, stop, right? There's like no time wasted. This is the no-fly zone. All the bullshit stays outside. This is just me and you in the no-fly zone, and no bullshit flies, and you tell me the fucking truth so I can support you and I can call your ass to more. That is the no-fly zone. That is how we play in my highest levels, right? So what would life be like if you stopped fucking lying about everything to yourself and you actually gave yourself permission to really long for what you want? And like, it's so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable to hope for something that a part of you doubts that you can ever have. It's vulnerable for you to admit you want something that challenges or rubs up against some kind of, you know, story or rule that you have on how you're supposed to be in order to be a good person. All of these kind of things, right? Which, by the way, is something that's really, really, really been... I'm fucking showing up. Yes, Tina. This has really been heavy on my heart, right? I watch people who tell themselves, like, this is the biggest one. Like, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to show up, but not that far. I'll do it. I'll show up, but not that far. I won't go that far. I won't challenge those old beliefs that I have. I won't tell myself the truth about what I really believe about God or you know, faith, or what my soul purpose is, or the things that I really want, or how I'm feeling in this relationship. And I don't just mean a romantic relationship, but that fucking too. I'm talking about with your mom, with your dad, with your brothers and sisters, with your neighbors, with your kids, with your best friends. I'm talking about the people who are in your life day to day. I'm talking about telling yourself the fucking truth. Like, how does it feel? Do you even know? Are you paid attention, or are you just so used to fucking suffering that you just, it's like just another day of fucking suffering, and I'm just gonna pretend that this is okay? Because you are meant and allowed to be so fucking happy. and to live, like, you're allowed to have relationships where there's a value exchange and you enjoy your time spent with them. And yeah, maybe there's challenges here and there, but it's not a daily challenge. It's not a challenge every second challenge. Maybe with your kids, I don't know. I haven't sorted that one out fully yet. But even with my kids, what I've learned is before I would freak out and predict all these negative things that will happen, and that would be my fault. I'd be a bad mom. I'd let my kid down. So if I just took that one fucking thing off the table because I decided I'm allowed to be happy and have fun all the time, then how would I show up with my kid? Oh, I would just love them. I would just be here loving them and reflecting what's possible for them and reflecting, you know, the availability and the amazing things I know and see about them and the things that I know they've already accomplished. That's like, yes, right? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like available everywhere. So the biggest thing that I see and that I have struggled with myself is actually based around my relationship with God. And all the bullshit that I was told and taught all through my childhood and all when I was a kid about what it means to be a good Christian, what gets you into heaven, you know, what gets you into that space. And like, man, has it taken years and facing and telling the truth and like some scary fucking moments where I was literally like shaking and crying, just like feeling like I was facing the moment of like, this is actually blasphemy. I was taught this was blasphemy. If I experience, this is blasphemy. And like, what do you really fucking believe, Mandy? Because this is the moment, because if you do this, you're going to hell according to everything you were taught. Are you gonna fucking like get clear and be decisive about who you are? And a lot of people would be terrified to be in a situation like that, but it's such a blessing. So if we're making decisions in our lives that ward off any kind of tension where we're required to get really clear who we are and what we want and what we stand for and what we actually believe, then you're just the person lighting your shit on fire watching everybody else. That's who you are. So let's just call a spade for a second here, right? So in the moment when I'm shaking and I'm like, of course, what do you do when you put your ass in a position where you have no choice but to make the fucking decision? Or you put your ass in a position where you have no choice but to show up and make the income. When you put your ass in a position where you have no choice but to tell the fucking truth to the person in front of you and recreate a new dynamic in this relationship because now you're responsible and you have all this stuff going on, this is how you will grow. Don't be afraid to be brave and to fucking leap and to put your ass in a position where you're required to figure shit out. Like, do I believe I'm gonna go to hell over this? I wouldn't trade anything for that moment, yet it was probably one of the hardest moments of my life. And my whole nervous system, and I was just shaking and like everything was being challenged. Every cell of my fucking body was being challenged in that moment. But I knew who I was a moment later. I made a fucking decision in that moment. And I decided that I actually did not believe that I would go to hell if I had that experience. And so the experience was I was in Bali, I was going into a temple, and they, it's a temple for a Balinese god. And so for me, like, to go in there and go through the rituals that the Balinese were going through would be evidence of me serving another god, which would be blasphemy, which would literally mean it's unforgivable and I would go to hell. And so I went through that experience and I shook and I cried, and I've never actually told this story ever, but there was something else that happened. So I went under these 7 things, and I went through it. When I first went in, I said to the Balinese guy, I was really nervous, and they gave me an incense to hold, and like you put it on the altar, which I was fucking straight out of my mind with all that. I was just like, oh, I was freaking out. So I handed my incense to someone else and had them put it on the altar. And I said something to one of the Balinese guys there, which, by the way, if you've never been to Bali, my Bali retreat is coming up like in April, I think. But also, you need to fucking go, because the Balinese there are like 100,000 times wiser than anyone you can pay to be your coach. I'm just gonna say that shit out loud. So I asked him, I said, I'm confused why you would let me go into your temple to worship your God when I don't worship your God. I don't believe in your God. And you know what he said to me? He said, and this changed my fucking life. And that moment and all the transaction that happened, of course, changed my life, because it was even challenging for me to go to Bali in the first place, because I heard all this stuff about worshiping idols and blah, blah, blah. And it was just, all of it was challenging. Plus traveling that far by myself back then was super fucking challenging, and especially with all the trauma and abuse I had gone through when I was younger. So it was all a big challenge, right? So it was like really fucking shocking to my nervous system and my belief systems. And so what he said to me was, oh, there's only one God. It's like, the God that created the universe, and your God is my God. You're free to worship your God. And my mind was just blown, like, does it get to be that fucking simple? Because I was taught a whole bunch of other crazy shit that has absolutely nothing to do with that right there. And so I went through this really powerful experience, which someday I'll share. It was really fucking incredible. And I just came out a completely different woman. And ever since then, there's been massive amounts of challenging beliefs that come up for me. Like, the Bible talks about it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for him to go through the eye of a needle. I don't know exactly how it's phrased, but that's the phrase, right? And so I was always taught, if you're wealthy, if you try to look good, when I was a kid, I was taught, if you're a woman who tries to look sexy, or you try to look beautiful, or you try to look your best, you're sinning, because you're causing other men to stumble, you're causing other women to be jealous of you. So basically you're causing massive amounts of pain to people, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make things easy for other people. And so, that was my definition of love. Okay, in order to be loving, in order to be good, in order to get into heaven, I have to make myself look like shit all the time. I have to look bad. I have to play down. I have to make sure I don't look as pretty as I could, which was a weird combination with being, sexually assaulted consistently by Christians also. You know what I mean? So it was really fucking confusing through those times. But needless to say, what stuck with me was you're not allowed to make money or be successful, and you're not allowed to try to look good or try to look your best. And that was really fucking hard, because it was so drilled in me. And when you're living in that kind of world, and those are the stories you're believing, and that's what's taught to you, you find a lot of evidence of it being true. It just is it's what you're taught and what you believe, that's what you will look for, and that's what you will find. So you'll find evidence that all of these things are true. And my experience of my outgrowing the belief system that I was taught felt very much like, I'm just gonna say it, fuck it. This is like a say it day. I can't believe I'm saying all this shit, but I am. Welcome to my world. If you're new here, say hi below and I'll come find you. Oh my God, I need love from my people right now. Send me hearts. Stephanie. Okay, so what I experienced outgrowing my old beliefs was, it felt like somewhere along the way, thank you for the hearts. Somewhere along the way, someone very powerful was smart enough to recognize, if we teach people to feel like they're good people and they're safe if they're broke, they'll give their money to us. If we teach women that they're not allowed to divorce, that they're not allowed to have longings met, that their bodies are shameful, their beauty is shameful and sinful and it's bad, they'll stay in their motherfucking place. If we teach that you're not allowed to strive to be successful, you need to be one of the same of everybody else, you need to be content with what you have, then people will stop trying to fight any other rules put on them. If we teach people to just consistently actually be comfortable with tons of rules on them and being fucking obedient, and that's what you're supposed to do, and actually your entire life's purpose is to learn to be disciplined to the fucking rules, they'll stay in their place and we can control them. And then that journey felt like not only was that there, but they spent thousands of fucking years learning how to corner any belief that will get you out of that very skillfully. Very fucking skillfully, as to why anything that's counteractive to that, and most importantly, any experience that you might go through, the experience in itself, the thing that will give you the wisdom, the experience, is a sin. You're not allowed to experience those things, or you're sinning. You're not allowed to acknowledge the longings that you have, or you're sinning. You're not allowed to want things that you don't have yet, or you're sinning. You're not allowed to admit that you don't want to be in this fucking relationship, or you're sinning. You're not allowed to believe that life gets to be easy, or you're fucking sinning. It's just all of it's bad, all of it's wrong. And so I used to listen to worship music and connect with God, which felt really amazing. I still do. And when I did, there was always some kind of I was just listening to the Skillet song this morning, actually, and there was this line in it that said, your love has called me by name, what do I have to fear? And it's so funny because there was another line in there that said something about when I fall away from you or when I get off track with you. And before, what that used to mean was if I got off track with someone before, what it meant to me was that I was sinning. I fell into one of those things. I started hoping for things. I started dreaming for things. I started acknowledging longings. I started to want to back off of things that felt like fucking suffocation, because that's how it felt. All of my fucking Christian experience as a child felt like suffocation and scary and fearful, and something bad's gonna happen, and I'm bad, and everybody is bad, and everybody was born bad, and they all need to be fucking rescued, and it's my job to fucking rescue everybody, and talk about codependent hell, right? It was fucking terrible. No, just no. Like, if it feels fucking terrible and like you're dying, it's because you are. It's because your soul's trying to tell you something's way off here. That's why it feels like fucking dying. That's why when you look around those kind of communities, everybody's fucking dying. They're all slowly dying. And I actually know what it takes to face these kind of things. It's fucking terrifying, and I get it. But this morning when I was listening to the worship music and I was thinking, your love has called me by name, what do I have to fear? It like really clicked in my head, and I have no idea about that band or how they meant it, but how it felt for me and how all of the beautiful things that I was taught in Christianity, what they mean and say to me now is it's love. It was love that called me. It was true connection with soul and God that actually lit me the fuck up and made me feel alive. But for me, it doesn't feel like suffocation anymore. When I connect with God, when I feel called, when I feel like he's calling my name, he's calling me to more, what I feel called to is to actually have everything that I could possibly have every experience I could have, and stay in integrity as I do this with him. So like, yeah, sure, on the journey of making money, it felt like I'm going to be bad, or I'm going to be that person, like I'm going to go to hell because I'm going to change and I'm going to grow and I'm going to be one of those superficial people that go to hell and blah, blah, blah. Of course that was challenging. But every point along the way, I got to feel God calling me into expansion, into joy, into happiness, into true love, to shake off the judgment, to shake off the fear, to shake off the fucking rules and the suffocation, to shake that shit off, and for me to keep growing and expanding. And that shit didn't fit in with the Christian community that I was raised in at all, obviously. But to me, when I feel like I'm off track, what just happened was I dumped back into the old fear bullshit. I dumped back into the story of limitation. I dumped back into the story that I'm bad and everybody else needs to be fucking rescued and that people are gonna go to hell if they don't believe this one particular pattern. That's the shit that I fall back into when I get off track with God. So when I heard those lyrics this morning, I was just like, oh my God, that's a completely different feeling, because I've honestly been kind of shying away from church or the Bible, or like, traditional church, the Bible, or worship music for the most part, because I still felt triggered, and that guilt and that fear would start to get stirred up a little bit when I listened to Christian lyrics. And now I just was so like fucking mind blown that like, oh my God, it's not what it means to me at all anymore. Being called to by God, by name, feeling like I got off track means that I stopped admitting the truth to myself. I started lying to myself. I started blinding myself again about how this relationship's fine because I need to rescue this person. I'm not allowed to get divorced. I'm not allowed to, like have a requirement of how I'm allowed to be treated in a really fucking epic way. I'm not allowed to dare to dream for those things that I long for and hope for. I'm not allowed to explore things that I'm confused about until I get really clear, like going to Bali and going into another temple and then getting really clear how it is that I believe, that I actually believe that there's nothing I could do that would make God be like, oh, well, you fucked up, you're done, you're going to hell forever. Like, no, I just didn't believe that. I never did. So I got to tell myself the truth in that moment. So the lesson for me is to like, wow, how this all comes together, right? So it's like, okay, for me, where I stand in my faith, and I've done a lot of things and gone through a lot of experiences to be able to get to this place. And a lot of people I feel like, or have told me, I don't feel like, they tell me straight to my face that they're terrified to explore this space and really get clear what they believe. Or I even had one amazing client whom I love dearly forever. She's a friend of mine also, said to me that she was afraid that, well, first of all, that her audience would judge her if she like studied with me, or she was a student of mine or a client of mine, because it would look like she's straying from God, and she was afraid of the judgment. And the other side of that is I am also afraid that you will pull me away from the truth, right? So basically, of course that's easy for somebody because they're just trained to be in a space of fear, to make decisions out of fear. That is the whole fucking training. That's the whole purpose. So at any given moment, you just get to check in with yourself, whether it's around Christianity or money or building your business or your faith and your soul experience with God, or what you feel your purpose is called to, admitting what you fucking want, like daring to believe that you can have epic love that feels amazing and incredible every day, and that you feel sexy and you get to look yourself and be yourself, whatever the things are. You get to travel the fucking world and learn all these other cultures without fear that something bad's gonna happen, or fear that you're a bad person because you're outgrowing limiting things. How could that possibly make you a bad person? You are meant to thrive and have every amazing experience in life that you could possibly set your heart's desire on and carry out and allow yourself to have, right? So you get to ask yourself in the moment a very straightforward question. Is this decision being made out of fear? Oh, hold on one sec. That is on my bucket list. Okay, sorry. Oh my God, was just typing Val. I wonder what that is. Okay, well, what was I saying? Oh, I was saying, so at any given moment, as you're going through this journey, really the work is for you to get really fucking honest if you're making that decision out of fear or not. I'm afraid this will happen. I'm afraid that will happen. I'm afraid I'll go to hell. I'm afraid I'll become a bad person. I'm afraid that, you know, whatever the fucking thing is. And here's the other part of it. The other part of it was me getting really clear and really honest, which a mentor actually gave me feedback on this. So I was so grateful for, is to really actually stop being entitled enough is what it felt like for me. I felt like I was being entitled once I saw it. Stop needing to predict the fucking future. You're no good at it. If you were any good at it, you would have won the megabucks by now, right? Like, you're not any good at predicting the future. Stop trying. Like, well, who am I going to be after I experience Bali? Who am I going to be once I become a millionaire? Who am I going to be if I leave this relationship? You know, what would I behave like if I was single? What would I behave like if I had tons of money? What would I behave like if I was really beautiful and sexy? Would I become a slut? Would I be this? Would I be that? It's like all these fears that we have, and we get so caught up in it that we can't see the thing in front of our face that we get to have right now and step into and grow into. Because what happens is if you can stop just looking at the future and far out and trying to figure out who you're going to be at that place, what you'll do is you'll actually get clear who you fucking are as the woman you are today, as the man you are today. That's what will happen. And the more solid you feel in who you are today, the more you have someone, like people around you that are reflecting back to you, the more you get away from the relationships that are just sucking you dry and consuming your energy, consuming your time, feeding you all these bullshit stories about how you're bad or what's bad and all this stuff. When you break away from that and you start to get in a room with other people who are telling the fucking truth, facing the fucking things, taking steps one at a time to just keep growing and going, and then stuff just starts to up level, you will become confident. You will feel safe. You will feel solid. You will know who you are. And that feels so good. And the person who knows who they are and they're confident and they're solid and they feel good today and they have spaciousness around them and they know what they're going for and they have a vision of who they're meant to be and they're stepping into that person every single day, that person cannot be fucking moved. That person cannot be scared into somebody else's story of what it's supposed to look like. That person can't be pulled down or trapped or consumed by people who are living in fear and feel like it's bad or it's superficial or it's whatever other stupid shit. Like, nothing thriving is superficial. Maybe the work today is for you to write down what the definition of superficial is, or what the definition of sin is, or what the definition of what. Maybe we need to redefine those things that are kicking around in our head because there's some old stories really attached to it. And it's kind of like having an iPhone like from 20 years ago and having, I know there wasn't an iPhone 20 years ago, but it's a good example. Like having an iPhone from 20 years ago and never getting it updated, like never setting the updates on it so you never get the update, or like a computer that you've had for 20 years and you never updated it and you have no idea how amazing the software is. It's like you can't grow and do this work and experience things and become more of a person and then not look back and refine some of these things and update some of the things that you used to believe that you're not even fucking checking in on. Like that doesn't work at all. So what will happen is you'll feel this cognitive dissonance, right? Like you'll feel, because there's old stories and beliefs that you actually don't fucking believe, that you're ignoring and you're lighting the truth on fire and you keep pretending everything's fine. And then there's who you are today, who has grown and become seasoned, right? And then those two things are just gonna fucking clash inside of you. And like Oprah said, no greater battle than the battle against the part of you that wants to stay the same and the part of you that's growing and wants to change. And they're just duking it out. Isn't that exactly what it fucking feels like? And then people will think something's wrong. I did something wrong. It's not supposed to feel like this. What if it's exactly what it's supposed to feel like? What if the only thing that feels like what you've told yourself in your head it's supposed to feel like is actually staying the fucking same and not challenging anything? What if actually you can just learn to get comfortable really challenging yourself and putting yourself in positions where you're required to grow and show up and get seasons and figure things out? What if that's the whole fucking point? You hear what I'm saying, right? Yes. All right, let me check some of these comments. You know, what's funny is other examples for me that came to mind were that I had to outgrow were definitely looking my best, because that was just drilled into me hardcore. My mom was an incredibly jealous person and like really felt bad about how she looked after 6 kids and what she used to look like, and I never really dealt with that stuff and really lashed out on me, basically on like literally to the point where if I put, like, even if she had bought me the clothes, and I know my mom wouldn't mind me sharing this, I love her to death, we're so close now, even if I like put on clothes that she bought me and I thought it looked good, she would cut them up and leave them on a pile on the floor. Like, it was like really like bad. So it was like really entrenched in me that I'm not allowed to look good. So that was definitely one of them. But then it was also even music, like listening to music that's like hardcore and pumps me up and like has swears in it, or like, you know, I'm gonna drop the motherfucking world on your head music, like that kind of music. I felt like I used to have nightmares that I would only go to heaven. So I had music on this, like this, what was it called? Like a conveyor belt, and it had like these lights, and so I had to like dump my CDs out on it, and the conveyor belt would go into 2 chutes, and if it went into the good chute, then if more went into the good chute than the bad chute, then I would get to go to heaven. If more went into the bad chute than the good chute, then I would go to hell. And I remember telling my mom that when I was younger, and she was like, yeah, that's God's message to you, to tell you that you need to clean up your music. Like, this is the shit that is drilled in us when we're kids. Like, now I look at that, I'm like, no, that was a nightmare because my system was having trouble processing something so fucked up, because my soul was rejecting it because it's bullshit, right? Like, that's what was actually going on, but I didn't know that when I was younger. So music was another one. Giving myself permission to swear. Like, I'm just lit the fuck up every second of my life. I'm always on overflow. I'm always on fucking full force. I'm always full-fledged. I'm always laughing and dancing and crazy and having fucking fun. When I'm not, it's because something's off. Just like when I was bulimic for 21 years. The reason you're throwing up, Mandy, is because something's way off and you're not dealing with it and you're not challenged. So when I'm not, I went through so many seasons of depression, and now looking back, it's so obvious. I can see clearly why I was going through depression, because I didn't know how to face these things. I didn't even know that there was things to face, because it was just so consuming. There was so much shit. So you just start facing one at a time, and you'll keep going and growing, right? So swearing was another one. And then also feeling fulfilled in a relationship. So yes, all the other things, like, you know, mom and dad and you know, romantic relationships. And of course I have created massive amounts of boundaries with my family as I've gone through this journey, which were challenging in the beginning, but now they're super fucking easy like anything else. It's a learnable skill. But also really, just in general, giving myself permission to have a value exchange and to be unavailable for the kind of relationships, or you're required to go something where there isn't a value exchange. So meaning, like, all of my clients every day they're in my life, they give me so much value. There's such a value exchange. I mean, hi, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. Like, my clients, my tribe, the people who resonate with my voice, like, there's tons of value I get back from that. You know, spending time with my kids, I get value back with that. And the friendships that I have or continue to have, like, if it's just a constant drain and they're just constantly like draining on me, it's not a friendship. That's not a friendship. That's just a fucking codependent thing that's happening. A friendship is something where there's a value exchange. We are giving value to each other. There's a flow. I enjoy your company. You contribute to me changing the motherfucking world, to becoming the woman it took to change the world. I contribute to you in a way where it contributes to you getting to the place where you're changing the motherfucking world. And that is value exchange. And that was really, that was challenging for me to give myself permission to actually require that in relationships, and give myself permission. Like, it's okay for me to not want to talk about dumb shit that I don't want to talk about most of the time. And it's okay for me to design a life and to make decisions and choices based on being able to have value exchange. Just like it was okay for me to make decisions and choices and design a life where I was just getting leagues and leagues ahead of the masses of people, because that's what I felt called to do. It's not any harder than that, right? So, like, those are just more examples of things that came up for me in the journey, and like giving myself permission to get to the other side. Not to get to the other side. Giving myself permission, that was just a saying. It was giving myself permission to have a life where the pendulum swings forward only, where it's just expansion upon expansion upon expansion upon expansion upon expansion upon expansion. And that's what the life is like. And it just gets better and funner and happier and easier and more flow-based and more fucking powerful and more result-based and more, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And people have this weird belief, because of course, if you haven't been there, how do you know? But they have this weird belief that, like, if I let my life, like, if I really face these things, if I show up, if I'm consistent, if I tell the fucking truth, things like client overflow. Hi, if you're not having consistent clients in your business, you need to fucking join client overflow. That's the whole point. Like, get really clear in your life. What is the thing that's really dragging me down the most? If it's your relationship, face that shit. Tell yourself the truth. How do you feel? What do you want a relationship to look like? Like, these are the things, like, you look at what's actually happening, what actually is needed in order for that to shift, and you keep facing that one step at a time, and your life will just keep continuing to change, and you show up to that level every fucking day of your life. every single day. Be wise enough and be smart enough to tell yourself the truth about what's kicking your ass and what's required and what do I need. Well, like, for example, client overflow. If I were to just have consistent clients and I wasn't frantically giving myself permission to tell myself stories about how I always have to chase clients, and you weren't lying to yourself about what you're doing and how none of that shit's working because we make power moves and that's it, because power moves bring in results, and then we go fucking play and enjoy life. That's what we do. So if you're not having consistent clients, it's because you haven't developed the skills to get consistent clients, or you're spinning some bullshit that is keeping you stuck. Probably a mixture of both, which is the purpose of client overflow. Hi, do you see what I'm saying? Like, how long have you been stuck in not having clients and letting yourself stay stuck in that place without doing something about it? This is the exact stuff I'm talking about. Let me drop that. It's mandyperry.com for client overflow again, by the way, guys. Okay, I want to look through these comments because I'm dying to hear what people are saying. Yeah. It looks like a lot of people needed to hear this. And you know what's funny? I would say, if I'm being really honest, for the last year and a half, I have really felt called to talk about this and didn't. Because I felt like it was too much for my Christian audience and they would just get triggered and shut down and they wouldn't be able to hear my voice. And so on some level, I was still trying to rescue people because I wanted to like put it out there in a way where they could hear me, because my intention isn't to piss people off or to push people away. My intention is for them to hear the truth. And yeah, maybe it'll trigger them and maybe it'll challenge them. But at the same time, I'm hoping that they can still hear it. They can at least hear it. Do you know what I'm saying? And if I'm saying it too bluntly or too straight up, then they're not even gonna be able to hear it. It's gonna be so much tension that it's just gonna bounce off of them and go away. And they won't even actually have a moment to challenge what they believe. And even if they choose to believe something else, which is of course fine, we all believe what we believe, that is the whole point. They would have at least challenged it to get clear again what they do believe, right? So I held back from that because I told myself a bullshit story as to why people couldn't handle that, and that wasn't appropriate for me to say it, and it's just my opinion, and everybody gets to believe what they want to believe anyway, so don't say anything. So even the fact that I'm saying it out loud is evidence of massive amounts of growth around this. I think we want to put both feet in, but then logical risk-taking analysis takes over. LOL budget. Yep, of course. Right? There is fear-based living and there's faith-based living, and that's it. There's my soul feels called to this and I'm gonna leap in even though I have no fucking clue how it happens. I trust the process. I trust my being led and my being called. You know, just like when I went to Bali, it was like, it didn't make sense to me that I felt so called to have this experience, but it was a sin. Like sometimes you can just use common sense. Most of the time you can't. Most of the time, it really is like you feel a soul calling to it. You feel this pull. You feel inside. It's like, come on, let's just get really honest. It's like inside your gut, you're just like, hell yes. Like, hell yes. It feels like oxygen. It feels like life. It feels like living. It feels good. It makes me happy. It makes me expanded. It makes me state of overflow. It lights my fucking heart up. It lights my soul up. It lights me the fuck up. And you follow that. Like, fucking chase that ferociously. I wrote a blog the other day. Like, I was trying to describe something, like a process of something, what it felt like. And it really felt like before, I used to be like, well, I need to make sure this is okay and that's okay and this person's okay and this is all taken care of. And I've cleaned up that person's mess 46,000 times. And I've done that person's fucking work for them 46 million times, and I feel guilty about this, and like I just need to make sure everybody's safe. Then I can go to this next level, which by the way never fucking works, obviously. Never. All that happens is you finally get fed up with doing their shit for them and then you move to the next level. Well, you can skip right past that and you can just give yourself permission to let them do their own fucking work while you take off. So it feels like, right, it's not this, but it feels like all I could think of was like a car, and I'm just like taking off in the car, and like I'm letting like the buildings and everything is fucking smashing and blowing up behind me, and I'm letting it because it's not my fucking problem. It's not my work. My work is my work. I have my own fucking buildings going down, and I have my own shit that I need to work out. We hold them as able to deal with themselves. So even though you're not doing that, even though it's not all blowing up, it feels like that. Feels like you're selfish and reckless and you're just taking off and giving yourself all the things that make yourself feel happy, and all this shit's blowing up back here and you just left everybody that you love back there in the blown up fucking disaster. That's what it feels like. So that's why I was like, you want to know what the journey feels like? That's what it feels like. It's not true. It's not true. What you're actually doing is growing into a woman who's healthy, growing into a man who's healthy enough to require other people to do their own work for them, which by the way is supportive and loving for them, because now they're required to do their own work. You're not doing their work for them, so they're not being rescued, so they're not being entitled. So now they're in a position where they're required to show the fuck up. This is healthy, but that's not what it feels like when you're going through it. Feels like shit is blowing the fuck up, for sure. Yes, that's what it feels like. Do you see what I'm saying? You get to do it anyways though, even though it feels like that. But remember what I said, when you're growing into something new, when you're expanding, when you're challenging old belief systems, it feels like you're challenging old belief systems. It doesn't feel like I'm waking up today and doing the same thing I did every other day today. You're actually showing the fuck up. You're not watching everybody else or having no fucking clue what's going on. And that is a big deal. It is a big fucking deal. So, what are your takeaways from this? What are your ahas? Put them in the comments. Right, so what happens is we go to do something new. That battle happens between the part of us that wants to stay the same and the part of us that wants to change. And we step back because of all the evidence and proof that we had of like, well, when I lived back here in these 30 years and all these fucked up things that I believed and were taught to me and the guilt trips and the playing small and the rescuing everybody else and the fucking not owning what I actually want and feeling like it was guilty to look good and feeling like it was guilty to have expensive things, they're just fucking things. How does that thing become more of a big deal than that thing? If you're judging someone for having expensive things or for looking their best, you're actually the superficial person. Because little do you know that people with tons of money don't actually fucking care about the wealthy things. It's just an available option for them, kind of like it's an available option for regular people to go to Target. Like I remember when I up-leveled to Target, it was such a big deal. Like I get to shop at Target and not Walmart anymore, and it felt really good because that was available for me. So then now if I go in a boutique and buy Chanel because that's available for me, what's the fucking difference? There's no difference, but people who aren't there wouldn't know that. So they judge it and they see it as superficial because you're being fucking superficial, making that expensive thing a really big deal, even though it's not a big deal. It's just a thing that's available. It's just there, right? So like these are all the pieces and the parts. So what happens is we go to step into something, we take everything from the past and it's like you just put it in a big fucking Santa bag and you just carried that shit with you and you're just like walking down with all that shit. And then you go to do something new and you take that big bag and you fucking throw it in front of you and you look at all of it and you're like, see all the evidence of why this is bad plan, why I shouldn't risk it, why I just need to do exactly the same shit that I did yesterday and the day before. By the way, biologically, that is the lowest fucking level that you could possibly exist at. That is like a one-celled amoeba. That is like basic functioning of the nervous system is to do whatever you did yesterday and the day before so that you don't die. So if you want to live the rest of your life feeling like just don't fucking die, then just keep making decisions based off of the fear of what you think will happen if you do something new, if you tell yourself the truth, if you face it, and don't let yourself be in that tension and work through it. Never learn how to be in tension and to get comfortable in the tension, to fucking breathe into the chaos that you feel like is happening, to breathe into the shit that's coming up and the storm that's coming and the fears and all the shit that you could throw in front of you, and you just continue to breathe through it and you just continue to breathe through it and you learn to lean into that fucking chaos and you learn how to handle that and you become so fucking rooted, shit can't take you down. It might hit you sometimes where it hurts a little bit and you get to work through that, but it's not gonna take you down like it used to. And then you learn to really trust yourself. So that is the journey. And like, oftentimes clients will come to me and they're wanting to go into one of my high-level programs and I can see them, they're just caught up in this fear. And I don't take on clients who are caught up in the fear. I just don't. There are other coaches that I'm happy to refer people to that will work with people who are just completely fucking beat up and consumed by the fear. I don't do that. I'm not doing your fucking work for you. I'm here for the people who are willing and ready to be like, okay, so basically, it's why I don't do enrollment calls anymore, is because I hold people as accountable or available for themselves to get themselves across the finish line and sign up. And then I'm gonna fucking hold space for you. Now we're gonna fucking do this shit together because you had enough wisdom to drop into soul and faith to take that step forward because you believe in yourself enough to just take that step forward. You don't have to fucking know how anything else is gonna work out. I got your back, but you gotta be able to get yourself there, right? With rare exceptions, this is how I run my high level business, which is why you'll see like even the high level stuff is just a sales page with a price link because I hold you accountable to be able to fucking say yes to yourself, step into faith just enough to get yourself in the room. I'll fucking carry you on my back like the Marine I am once you're in the room, but you better get yourself in the fucking room and I hold you as available and accountable to do that. So, people will wonder like, how do other people get to the place where they invest so much? This is how. It's if you're so scared that you can't even make an investment in front of you, even though it feels like you're being fucking called to it, right? The work isn't for you to make I just need to figure out all these business-based things and then I'll make more money and then I can finally invest. Like, come on, get real. You'll make that 10 grand or whatever you told yourself and you'll just have another fucking excuse why you shouldn't waste that on investing in yourself. The pattern's the pattern. I don't fucking care how much money in the bank. The pattern's still gonna kick your ass. I would know. I tell you, I would know. I've gone from the girl who had fucking nothing making $400 a week to having $100,000 month, $92,000 month, right? And I know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, it's not gonna feel any fucking different when you make the money. That is not what the actual work is. I'm worried my earrings are banging on these and making noise for you guys. The work is for you to actually learn how to put yourself in a space of confidence and faith and feeling good so you know you can show the fuck up and you trust yourself. That is the fucking work, because I don't care how much money you make, you will stay in that fear pattern and oh my God, something bad's gonna happen, and you will piss it all away. You'll never have fucking money in savings. You'll always be frantically looking for that next level. It'll always feel like you're chasing the next thing because you didn't learn how to fucking lean into the chaos and become strong and know who the fuck you are and know how you're showing up in life and trust, of course, you're gonna be okay, especially when you're fucking following soul and taking brave, bold moves, because that's what brings success, right? And someone asked a really powerful question. They said, Mandy, how do I know when it's too far and when it's in alignment, right? And I thought, wow, that's a really smart question because I've been there. And I shared the only example I could, which was really an experience I had when it was too far. And so basically, I felt called to something. I went to go do it, and it was so fucking far from anything I could comprehend how to do. And there was zero, I had no fucking clue how I would even make the first step, right? Like, I think the first payment was like 16,000 and something like that. And it was like, yeah, maybe I had made like, $4,000 on coaching that month or something like that. So like, it was so far fucking away from anything that I could ever even comprehend. And I just started crying, and I knew that it wasn't for me. But the very next investment was $2,000 a month, and I had no fucking clue how I was gonna do that, but I signed up for that because I at least knew, okay, I couldn't make 16,000 right now, but I can make 2,000 right now, right? I can up my credit cards, I can sell some shit, I can show up really huge and get some new clients, I can make 2,000 happen. And even though it felt ludicrous and everybody else thought I was nuts, it took massive amounts of faith to do it. I could at least see, like, okay, I could see that 2,000 could happen. That's how I knew I was ready. I didn't know if the 11 other 2,000s were gonna happen and how the fuck those were gonna happen, and that felt scary as shit, but I knew this month I could make 2,000 somehow, some way I could do it. And I fucking decided. And I decided every month after that, whether I was on the floor crying and throwing a temper fit because I didn't like that pressure, I wasn't used to that pressure, I wasn't used to having to show up and being accountable to something, I just wasn't fucking used to any of that. But I learned how to become that woman, and now it's easy. Now the amount of pressure or responsibility that I have for my business is epic, and it doesn't feel like responsibility, and it doesn't feel like pressure, it just feels like fucking amazing life. That's what it feels like, because I allowed myself to go through those growth processes in the beginning. So that was my answer to that. Yes, Carrie and Inez. I couldn't agree more. Christians are to accept and embrace love. Never have I ever felt more judged than Christians. I know. And this is so not like a bash Christian session. This is just a bash the fucking feeling of fear and suffocation session. And if that happens to fall into the way somebody's showing up as a Christian, then it happens to fall into the way they're showing up. That's what it is. There's nothing else more to this other than that was my experience and my journey. And then it was just crazy how the more wisdom I had and the more I could see how I was cornered at every fucking turn. And it was like, wow, they're actually really good at cornering you at every fucking turn. Like, it's brilliant. It's actually really brilliant. It's fucking best marketing I've ever seen in my life. Amazing. I need me some Mandy o'clock. It's not kids o'clock. I love you, Val. Redefine smart budgeting. I think I already mentioned this to you, Gina, but this around money, this changed my fucking life. So I'm just gonna share it with you guys. It's completely random, but I'm gonna share it with you guys. I learned to look at what is a savvy move, meaning what's savvy is having the balls to put myself in a position where I'm required to show up, where it's soul-based, it feels in alignment, but I'm scared to shit because the person I am today wouldn't be able to make that happen, which means I'm gonna have to up level in order to be consistent, which is why I'm fucking doing it, which is why my soul is calling me to it. And that feels savvy versus being careful with my money. Like, I'm gonna be careful and I'm gonna be cautious and I'm gonna save for a rainy day. Very much that poor mentality that I was, trained and brought up to think in, rather than what feels to the poor person like being reckless with money. That's what it feels like. It feels like when I was racking up credit cards and I was selling shit and I was fucking committing to stuff, it felt reckless. It did. But it also felt like oxygen. It also felt like I knew I was meant for it, and I was fucking ready to be the next level me. I was ready to put myself in a position where I was required to show up, and I don't care how much I threw a fucking fit, I was required to show up. That is savvy decision-making around money. It's being smart and bold and brave and intelligent and savvy, not being careful and cautious. There's a really big difference. And so as soon as I made that connection, I was like, oh, got it. Yep. I'm on it. and been making financial decisions that way since the beginning, but with a new level of clarity once I put those words on it. Sarah, you're making the rules, sister. That's fucking funny. Oh, thank you, Susan, for dropping that in. Okay, I love you guys. So I would love to hear any ahas that you guys have about this. Anybody who's new, please drop comments below. Feel free to share what you believe, and you know, even if it triggers you, I do ask that you be polite and be kind about this, because if you're rude or aggressive, I'm just gonna block your ass. I'm just unavailable for that. But I also really love hearing people's take on it. I mean, like, some of my favorite people have really different beliefs than me, but there's an intelligent, mature conversation that happens about it, and I get more and more clear every time I have these conversations. So yeah, anything that comes up, feel free to drop below. I just love to hear your feel on it, where you are in the journey, how you're feeling about it, and also you know, what are you committed to do today? Because let's just be real, that part of this conversation will go in one ear and right out the other. Like, how are you going to put yourself in a position where your ass is required to show up? Right? Like, maybe it's the client overflow group. Maybe you're interested in the Diamond Mastermind. Maybe there's something else on your radar. Maybe it's hiring the team. Maybe it's having the conversation with that, you know, romantic partner. Maybe it's daring to love again. Maybe it's booking a place to travel. Like, I don't know what it is for you, right? But tell yourself the truth today and fucking own that shit today, and drop it in the comments, because when you say it out loud and when you put it out there in the universe, it makes it real. When it's just floating around in here, it's just a feeling and emotion. That shit ain't real. A feeling is not real. It's just a thing that passes. It's like this thing that comes and goes, a lot like the past. The past isn't real. Like, it just become the past. It won't become present, and you're not building it in your current life right now. So we want you to say it out loud. We want you to fucking own it. And it's a safe space, right? Like, this is why I'm always telling my clients, it's safe for you to tell the truth right now. It's safe for you to put in the comments, what will call your ass tomorrow? What do you actually really want? What resonates? What have you been holding yourself back from? What bullshit are you spitting to yourself? It's safe to own it here, because it doesn't mean that you have to instantly change and become a different person this moment. You could decide to be here. No time has to fucking change for you to be that person, right? Which is why we say there's no momentum required. You just fucking decide to be her today, and you fucking show up as her today, just like I am right here. I decided that I'm not fucking holding back the shit that's inside that's leaking out all over the place. I had a friend of mine make a comment about, like, I say a lot of things, and I'm like, yeah, that's because it's leaking out of me, and so, like, I'm saying all these things. And I was like, note to self, I will do more, I'll say more shit through the funnel of what my purpose is, rather than like letting it leak out everywhere. So I laughed, and I was just like, well, thanks for the feedback. And it got me to shift, and that's why I'm here on the live today. So once you say it, put it in the fucking comments. It's really powerful, because once you say it, once you own it, once you tell the truth, all that happens is it's like you're not blinded as much anymore. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're required to do something, or that now there's some new rule on you. That's the whole fucking point. There are no rules. There's no new rule on you that now you have to be something else, or now you have to address this, but it is a start. It is a fucking start to something that you've been avoiding doing for a long time. And maybe you do feel called to do something right fucking now, make that commitment and put your ass in that arena, surrounded by people who are telling the truth and doing life this way. Then fucking do it. Stop procrastinating. Just knock it off. Just stop with the fucking excuses. And if you're at the place where, like, it's really hard for you to admit something to you, just say it for the first time. That is a really powerful step. Just saying it for the first time really fucking matters. It does. It'll start to shift and change things. And that fog that's in there that you can't see through will start to roll away a little bit. And you'll start to be able to see a little bit more clear. And you'll start to be able to feel a little bit more clear. And you'll be able to name how you feel, so you can give yourself what you need, and then you can start making more decisions and being decisive and being fucking savvy and brave, right? It all begins somewhere. So yeah, saying it in the comments is a really fucking big deal. You said it, police is on your ass. Yes, Val's gonna be the fucking police. That's really funny. Oh my God, okay. I love you guys. I can't wait to see those of you who are joining us in the client overflow. This is some epically powerful shit that we're doing in there. It's all the stuff that stops people from having the fucking clients, so they can stop having the money train biting them in the ass. Because once you can relieve the pressure of that money, now you can do the work where you don't have to fucking worry about pressure of money, because you're strong no matter what's going on. So every time you up level, right? And you're putting it, because you're going to do it all over again. So every time, and this is not just for people who are trying to get their first clients. This is if you're trying to get your first wave of clients, or you're trying to up level to get high-end clients, all the fucking same. I'm going to teach you specifically how to get high-end clients. But this is, the work is the work. So the same work that you had to do to get the initial clients is the same fucking work that you need to do to up level into your next level of clients, and owning that and getting clear on who your next level of client is and how to pull in that high-end person who's ready to fucking show up and do that. I'm gonna teach you guys all of this. And the most important part about this is you're gonna learn the skill. So once we get that skill in there, and now you have learned the skill of holding that tension and feeling that tension and showing up really fucking powerful no matter how much tension is going on, no matter what current circumstances are, no matter what the fuck else is going on in your life, no matter who is saying fucking what, we don't care. We get to actually show up in our highest, powerful, like fucking most intentional self. And what you'll learn by doing this, the skill that I'm gonna teach you today, is the same skill you're gonna learn every time you're up leveling. So when you go from 50K months to 100K months, this is how you're gonna do it. When you go from 100K months to making that multi six figures, I already know. That's why I've already claimed 2 million next year, because I know, like, oh, I know this skill. So now I'm just applying it to that new level. And every time it's a little bit harder and a little more challenging, but it's the same fucking skill. You're just building on that same skill and strengthening and honing that same skill. And this is the skills I'm going to teach you in there. So it's a really powerful training. It's 10 full days. I was going to do it 10 weeks, but the vibe and the energy when we do it 10 days is, it just builds, and it's like you just, I don't know how to explain it. It's like goes in deep. It's just like really deep, really fast, really powerful, like day after day. And you have access to it in the membership indefinitely, so you can go back and rewatch it a gabillion times. We'll have a private group. You'll have access to me in there. All questions will be answered, and the vibe is gonna be really high. My diamond girls are in there with us, and we're just going all the way with this one. So I definitely recommend not missing out on this one. And I think, I'm sorry that I don't know this, I think that the early bird special ends in 48 hours. So it's one you want to do now, because people always buy after the special, always. I'm going to say something that's going to get you wanting to purchase it. And then you're going to want, like, it's going to resonate with you. It's going to call it to you. It's going to like get through that fog just enough, and you're going to purchase it, and it'll be after the early bird special. So I wouldn't miss that if I was you. Okay. I love you very much. And I can't wait to hear everything that comes up for you guys. Go fucking enjoy life, eh? I'll see you guys in the group. Bye.